Hello viewer, thank you for joining us. This is CBA TV broadcasting to you from Hargeisa, and this is your weekly program Africa Weekly. Still ahead on the program. Togo hosts International Summit on Counterfeit Drug Trafficking. Liberia soaring on President George Weah a 2-year mark. Bad roads are part of tourism experience, says a minister in Uganda. Seychelles Island witnesses tussle between protection of tourism and tortoise. And in Nigeria, nomadic schools educate the Fulani youth. Welcome viewer. We start with West Africa in Togo, where Togo hosts an international summit on fight against the trafficking and consumption of counterfeit medicine. Head of states, health experts and members of the Brazzaville Foundation attended and signed agreement to combat the scourge of counterfeit drug trafficking. President Macky Sall of Senegal and his Ugandan counterpart Yoweri Kaguta Museveni were among African head of states participating in the conference on counterfeit medication hosted by the President Faure Gnassingbé of Togo. The two-day conference ran through Saturday and is expected to lead a law initiative to end the illegal trafficking and use of fake drugs. Also attending are Gambian President Adama Barrow along with President Denis Sassou Nguesso of the Republic of Congo and Mahamadou Issoufou of Niger. Brazzaville Foundation said this is the first phase of a wider program to ensure access to safe and effective medicine for all their citizens. The foundation said this will help combat a deadly threat that claims hundreds of thousands of lives every year in Africa and funds transitional crime and terrorism. The World Health Organization estimates a $30 billion trade in fake drugs based on a data that shows that 10.5% of drugs tested in low and middle income countries are fake or substandard. The research was based on more than 14,000 samples from 88 countries. When the World Health Organization asked for two specific models centered on Africa, one for malaria treatment and another for childhood pneumonia, it found fake drugs implicated in up to 9% of malaria fatalities, where people sought treatment and their models likely underreported. For childhood pneumonia, some 72,430 additional deaths will be linked to substandard drugs if they delivered any reduced level of antibiotics, but the number soared to 169,000 when the drugs had no antibiotic effect at all. Also attending in Togo were the WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus and Joyce Banda, the former president of Malawi. Still in northwest of Africa, now to Liberia, George Weah-led government continues to face daunting economic challenges coupled with a series of protests as the administration turns to on January 22nd. George Weah's election wins a watershed moment for Liberia's poor, many of whom idolized the man who rose from Monrovia's slums to football stardom and the nation's highest office. But now, many complain he is failing in his economic stewardship.
Dominic Pade heaves a hammer over his head to crack a half-ton rock in northern suburb of Liberia's capital Monrovia, knowing his hard labor earns him far less than a year ago. Pade and his colleagues used to go home with $1,000, which is 900 euros a month, between them crushing rocks for the construction industry. Now, he says they are lucky to get $250, which is 225 euros. Stories such as Pade's are common in Liberia, where rampant inflation has left many people struggling and increasingly turning their anger on President George Weah. A former football icon whose goals for AC Milan and Paris Saint-Germain dazzles fans, Weah came to power in January 2018, promising to invest in education and create jobs. His election win was a watershed moment for Liberia's poor, many of whom idolized the man who rose from Monrovia's slum to football stardom and the nation's highest office. The 53-year Ware has since launched popular road building projects and abolished undergraduate tuition fees. But 2 years into his presidency, many complain he is failing in his economic stewardship. People struggle to get banknotes from ATMs, civil servants regularly go unpaid, and inflation, soaring to around 30%, has eroded purchasing power. About half of Liberia's 4.8 million people live on less than $1 a day, according to the most recent World Bank data dating 2016.
In a society, they too, if government pay them, they will be able to come to we the business people to buy. So the delay in the pay of the civil servant, that also is causing serious problem too when it comes to we the particular.
There are series of problems we face with in the business arena. First is currency issues where there are no stable rate in the country, where we have 3 kind of Liberian currencies, 2 kind of Liberian currencies in the country. We have the old money, the new money, and we have like the USD again, and it has too many implications on us.
Where spokesman Solo Kelbe, highlighting central bank reforms, said the former footballer is doing everything to make sure the economy is resuscitated. Where took office in a country already decimated by back-to-back civil wars from 1989 to 2003, which claimed 250,000 lives.
The intent of these street demonstration and protests is not about the president not being able to perform, because the president has been up to task from the time he took over Maanta, but it's to divert people's attention, is to scare away investors so that things are paralyzed and then you don't have investors to make this president unpopular.
More than 4,800 Liberians also died during the 2014-2016 West African Ebola crisis, and the country is still feeling the aftermath. Reporting for CBA News, I'm Naima Abdul Khair.
And now to a bizarre story that made headlines across Africa. This story is from Kampala, Uganda, where a minister in Uganda's cabinet said bad roads are part of tourism experience. According to State Minister for Foreign Affairs Henry Okello Oryem, bad roads can be part of tourism experience for people hailing from very affluent countries. Leading a team of technocrats from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs during their interface with lawmakers sitting on Foreign Affairs Committee, Oryem has said the damage done by roads in the recent prolonged rains ought not to be a cause of concern for the citizens of Uganda at all. The technocrats were at Parliament to answer queries relating to next year's budget framework paper. For us, a bad road is cause for complaining, but for people in affluent societies who have never experienced getting stuck on a bad road pushing a car from a ditch can be part of tourism experience, said Minister Oryem. Oryem was responding to MP's query as to whether poor roads in Uganda are partly responsible for the countries receiving fewer tourists compared to countries like Kenya and Tanzania. Oryem noted that despite Uganda not receiving as many tourists as other countries in the region, it continues to receive raving reviews globally. One reputation publication that has for the last 2 years highly rated Uganda as one of the countries to visit before one dies is Lonely Planet. Last year in particular, Chobe, located in Mushin Falls National Park in Uganda, was rated in the top 5 places to visit globally. Despite being Uganda's highest foreign exchange earner, government continues to spend niggardly sums to market the sector compared to regional heavyweights like Kenya and Tanzania. MPs have always cited the fact that despite Uganda having the largest number of endangered mountain gorillas, Rwanda, which has a better marketing strategy, continues to make a killing through selling permits to tourists. Lawmakers have accused the executive of milking a cow which it's not feeding. What a bizarre story from Kampala, Uganda. Cabinet ministers and ministers in government across African countries will always have an excuse for not making things up to standard. We take another short commercial break, but when we come back, we'll take a look at Seychelles Islands, which witnesses tussle between protection of tourism and tortoise. And we also go to Senegal, where Senegalese baobab trees are under pressure from cement manufacturers, as well as reviving up to a new land speed record in South Africa's Kalahari Desert.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
أنا ورابي وهرات سرعي. هاي. وعكلوا إذا وجدنا ويلو أنت ودوا سوى هيسين هل بعدين ما عرفتين. هذا.
جيل بدنا صارني. هذا إلا قرمي كام قنتاي.
هذا الشيء إذا صدع مع الماضي كم قنتاي.
استنى عيلة هذا.
استلاب. ما عاد عسده.
هذا سوق القاري جيلك والقورة ديني.
ديارة طبعا الوهاية ديارة حتى
هرمود فوجي انترنت حوار السر له جوب والبه يجور كستا هرمود اسكو حراها برشدة
يا سلام كسو دو قيمة دمستا بلارن اي كوسا ميسا شركة تلسوم 4G++, 3G iyo weliba 2G ka faa'iidayso qiimo dhimista internetka maxmil qiimo dhimista xidhmooyinka aasaasiga qiimihii hore 150 MB waxaad ku heli jirtay $1 halka qiimaha cusub 200 MB aad ku helayso $1 qiimihii hore 300 MB waxaad ku heli jirtay $1 halka qiimaha cusub 400 MB aad ku helayso $1 qiimihii hore 600 MB waxaad ku heli jirtay $2 halka qiimaha cusub 800 MB aad ku helayso $2 maxmil qiimihii hore 900 MB waxaad ku heli jirtay $3 halka qiimaha cusub 1.2 GB aad ku helayso $3 ha u dayma la'aan qiimo dhimista xidhmooyinka casriga ah $5 bil kasta waxaad heli jirtay 9 GB halka maalin kasta aad heli jirtay 300 MB hadda qiimaha cusub $5 bil kasta waxaad helaysaa 16 GB maalin kastana waxaad helaysaa 546 MB bil kasta $10 waxaad heli jirtay 20 GB maalin kasta waxaad heli jirtay 667 MB halka qiimaha cusub $10 aad heli doonto 30 GB maalin kasta waxaad heli doontaa 1 GB $15 qiimihii hore waxaad ku heli jirtay 42 GB bil kasta halka maalin kasta aad ku heli jirtay 1.4 GB qiimaha cusub $15 bil kasta waxaad ku heli doontaa 80 GB halka maalin kasta aad ku heli doonto 2.7 GB qiimihii hore $20 bil kasta waxaad ku heli jirtay 54 GB halkaad maalin kasta ku heli jirtay 1.8 GB qiimaha cusub $20 bil kasta waxaad ku heli doontaa 100 GB halkaad maalin kasta ku heli doontaa 3.3 GB shirkaddu waxay kuu soo kordhisay xidhmada $25 bil kasta waxaad heli doontaa 133 GB halkaad maalin kasta ka heli doontaa 4.4 GB qiimihii hore $30 bil kasta waxaad ku heli jirtay 75 GB halkaad maalin kasta ku heli jirtay 2.5 GB qiimaha cusub $30 bil kasta waxaad ku heli doontaa 150 GB halkaad maalin kasta ku heli doonto 5 GB qiimihii hore $50 bil kasta waxaad ku heli jirtay 180 GB halkaad maalin kasta ku heli jirtay 4 GB qiimaha cusub $50 bil kasta waxaad ku heli doontaa 210 GB halkaad maalin kasta ka helayso 7 GB la soco adeegyada Telesom shirkaddu waxa ay ku diyaarisay xidhmooyin cusub oo aan hore u jiri jirin xidhmooyinkan oo ah maalinle iyo toddobaadle 12 senti waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa hal toddobaad 50 MB 25 senti hal maalin waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa 200 MB hal toddobaadna 400 MB $1 hal maalin waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa 500 MB hal toddobaadna 1 GB $1 hal maalin waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa 1 GB hal toddobaadna 2 GB $2 hal maalin waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa 2 GB hal toddobaadna 4 GB $3 hal maalin waxaad ku isticmaali kartaa 3 GB hal toddobaadna 5 GB naftaada ku soo qiimo dhimista internetka ku raaxayso shabakadda isgaarsiinta ugu ballaaran Somaliland ee Telesom maxmil ka faa'iideyso qiimo dhimista internetka Telesom mar kasta ku xidhnow shirkadda Telesom. wixii faahfaahin kala xidhiidh nambarka daryeelka maxmiilka 151 maxmiil.
Welcome back, viewer. We now go to Seychelles on the eastern end of the Indian Ocean. The Seychelles, a chain of 115 islands in the Indian Ocean, is by word for luxury holidays, Instagram perfect beaches, and has gained a reputation as a honeymoon destination. But it is confronting a tug of war over how to keep the economy growing while protecting its fragile ecosystem. Celine Clary with the details.
The Instagram perfect beaches of the Seychelles just can't help looking like a tourism advert at all times. For many years, holidaying here was seen as a luxury afforded only to a small number. However, reflecting a global trend, this group of 115 islands off the coast of East Africa is seeing visitor numbers climb ever higher. From 2008 to 2018, the number of visitors doubled to 360,000, over 4 times the country's population.
Tourism in Seychelles in general is increasing, and that is of concern to conservationists like myself, to sustainable developers like myself, who find that maybe we're reaching a point which experts call over-tourism.
And yet tourism is a vital part of this nation's economy, accounting for more than 60% of its GDP. The key issue for the government is working out how to maintain this industry without letting it overrun the place. To preserve the status of these islands as a high-end luxury destination, the government introduced a temporary ban in 2015 on the construction of new hotels on the 3 main islands. And on further flung islands, the Seychelles practices a one island, one resort policy, all with the aim of avoiding becoming a mass tourism destination.
Development is kept to a minimum, and that it does not really destroy what we inherited. And for us to keep the waters clean, you know, the marine environment that is teeming with fish, the attractions that are in there, and that people feel very much, you know, that you are in an environment which is still very much intact compared to many other places.
Luxury hotels are among the biggest sources of pollution in the Seychelles. Many import their groceries from abroad and have around-the-clock dependence on oil-powered generators for electricity. This resort, on the island of Silhouette, is taking steps to reduce its environmental impact. For example, a blanket ban on the use of plastic bottles.
In 1 year we managed to save almost around 400,000 bottles of plastic. So it was the first measure we took by starting to produce our own water, which comes from Mount Duban, our own little mountain, and eventually bottling this water and giving it to our clients complimentary.
The Seychelles Tourism Ministry says it believes the island could ultimately absorb up to around 500,000 tourists per year. Any more than that, and the worry is that the country's vast amounts of protected natural spaces could come under threat.
From the east of the continent to the western part of the continent, in Bandia, Senegal, there used to be a forest of baobab trees, but all that remains now is a lunar landscape of abandoned craters. In Senegal, plans to extend a cement plant that has been exploiting the subsoil for 20 years are causing local populations to fear even a greater desolation.
This area used to be full of baobabs, an iconic tree in Senegal that represents life and death and whose leaves are used in medicinal teas. But today, the landscape here is lunar. These craters are the result of limestone mining in Bandia, an hour's drive from Dakar. For nearly 20 years, the Senegalese company Ciment du Sahel has based its cement plant here. The plant is supplied with limestone from some 20 open pit mines in the surrounding area.
As soon as they reach a part where there is no more limestone, they give up and leave it as it is. But in the contract it was clearly specified that after exploitation it is necessary to backfill, to restore and to put in new plant species, which would allow the baobabs to reclaim these areas.
With only 1/5 of the original forest area left, the cement plant has obtained a license to operate an additional 236 hectares. The decision is causing anger and concern among local residents. The explosives used would shake the surrounding houses, resulting in noxious limestone dust entering the atmosphere.
Since the mining began, there has been an increase in respiratory diseases. These include tuberculosis, asthma, respiratory infections such as pneumonia. It really affected the boys from the villages. That is the statement we made on the reports we sent. We've seen that there is an increase in these pathologies.
In Senegal, the construction sector is growing rapidly, driven by the government's policy of pursuing industrialization in this poor nation. One consequence is that it is now considered necessary to declassify once protected forest land.
When we make a decision to downgrade, we take the necessary measures to ensure that everything we lose in terms of forest is compensated for in another part of the territory. The state of Senegal has committed itself, through the Emerging Senegal Plan, to make Senegal green. I believe that is the intention of the head of state, the President of the Republic.
The authorities have assured that the authorization given to the cement plant is not final, and the licensing to operate across more land is pending. But with the current pace of cement production, the future of the region's baobab trees could be at risk.
You're still watching CBA News, broadcasting to you from Hargeisa. We take another short commercial break. I'll be with you in a moment.
بريمير بانكا maxaan ka caawiyaa walaal waxaan u baahanahay inaad ii furto akoon gaar ah Mastercard raaci fadlan okay walaal waan ku furayaa waxa kale oo u baahanahay akoon ganacsi waxa kale oo u baahanahay mobile banking iyo internet banking ganacsiga waxaan u rabaa BOS fadlan buuxi foomkan wala ma heli karaa maalgelin ganacsi in yarsid ma heli karaa maalgelin shakhsi oo lacagta waxaan rabaa inaad ii dhigto akoonkayga
bangiga caalamiga ah ee Premier Bank waxa uu ku hayaa akoon shakhsi ah mid ganacsi adeega mobile banking iyo adeega internet banking BOS maalgelinta lacagaha dibadaha loo diro iyo waxyaabo kale oo badan
ku soo dhawo mudan
waxaan doonayaa talabaadka ninkaas dalbaday oo dhan in la qabto
haddaba ha moogaanina booqo xarunta kuugu dhow kana furo akoon hadda
Welcome to CBA's News Bulletin, broadcasting to you from Hargeisa. My name is Yunis Dekow.
You are watching CBA TV. I am Wangoingoge from Hargeisa. Thank you for keeping it CBA TV. Reaching out to our global viewers through digital and television platforms from our two major broadcast centers and exclusive reporting from East Africa and beyond.
From Nigeria, Ajara Ahmed Tijani reporting for CBA TV.
Join us in engaging talk shows and programs on a wide range of issues.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for accepting our interview. My name is Hassan.
I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Welcome to Unscripted.
Welcome to Associate, proudly brought to you by CBA TV.
Welcome once again to Artflix.
I welcome you to your show, our show, CBA TV News Review.
Our digital platforms engage users everywhere. We inform, educate, and entertain. We are CBA TV, the voice of East Africa.
Welcome back, viewer. In the remote South Atlantic Ocean, scientists, divers and activists brave dangerous conditions in search of an underwater mountain. Its unique marine life is rumored to be flourishing after an extensive ban on fishing. The Green Space Research Mission is part of its year-long pole-to-pole expedition to lobby the United Nations for an international legally binding treaty to preserve the oceans. Journalists joined the NGO on a nearly 2-week trip to see the revival of Mount Vema and get to know the men and women who sacrificed their life on the land for ocean conservation.
They're often called sea wolves, nomads who live most of their lives on the ocean. These are the dedicated volunteers who work on board the Greenpeace ships. South African Barry Uber quit his job at a private game farm and sold or gave away almost everything he owned to work as a deckhand for the last 5 years.
And why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I believe that there is no better thing to do with my life than what I'm doing now. I think the rat race is basically a waste of time and energy if you look at the direction the planet is going in. So yeah, this makes sense to me. It feels right. It just makes me happy.
Also devoting his life to conservation is Dutch native Pascal van Arp, a technical diver who joined this year's Greenpeace expedition to Mount Vema, 1,600 kilometers off the west coast of South Africa. The seamount rises 4,600 meters from the ocean floor up to around 20 meters below the water's surface. A fishing ban was put in place at Mount Vema in 2007 in the hope it would allow the marine life time to recover, and it has. A small team makes several dives a day to gather as much data as possible. Different species of fish will be catalogued and water and kelp samples studied to give a better picture of this unique ecosystem. Pascal's passion for the ocean flowed over into conservation in 2012 when he started Ghost Fishing, an NGO which retrieves discarded fishing gear all over the world. The United Nations estimates that 640,000 tons of equipment, such as nets and traps, is discarded around the oceans each year.
It's a sort of circle of death, we always name it, because the fish is getting catched by the net or by the lines. It dies, it attracts other animals, they also die in the same net or in the lines or in the hooks. So it's continuously going. It's just a waste of fish.
These environmental issues prompted 39-year-old Barry to completely change his life. He lives 3 months on the boat and 3 months off, and uses his downtime to travel wherever expeditions take him.
I decided that I didn't want to wait until the day that I retire to do the things that I want to do. I decided that I wanted to take the risk now and give up the securities and follow my dreams. And if I end up 60 or 70 years old with nothing, then at least I've had a good life and I did the things that I wanted to do.
Greenpeace expedition team leader and marine biologist Thilo Mak has been an activist for 20 years, but he also joins in some of the dives to get a first-hand look at the seamount.
I think this is just a perfect example of what happens if you leave nature on its own for a certain period of time. Even if it was overfished, it will replenish shortly.
The Greenpeace research mission is part of its year-long pole-to-pole expedition to lobby the UN for an international legally binding treaty to preserve the oceans.
Our lives depend on the health of the oceans, and the oceans are in a historic crisis. Consequences of climate change, overfishing, plastics in the sea. If we want to do something now, we would have to declare at least 30% of the oceans as marine protected areas, latest until 2030.
According to campaigner Bukelo Nzimande, a paradigm shift is needed in the approach to biodiverse areas located in the high seas, like Mount Vema.
A shocking stat is that at the moment less than 1% or close to 1% of the high seas are protected. And considering that the high seas cover about 50% of the planet, 1% is completely insignificant.
Changing these statistics is exactly what keeps Barry going.
If they tell me, Greenpeace tells me tomorrow that there's no more money, there's no more funds to pay me a salary, I would still keep on doing exactly what I'm doing now. No doubt about it.
Life at sea might be tough at times, but for these volunteers, conservation isn't just a job, it's a call for change and a search for meaning.
And now to Africa's most populated country, Nigeria. In the Kashia reserves in central Nigeria, a school for Fulani nomads welcomed more than 800 students. Designed by Nigeria's government in the 1980s, these schools offer access to education for the children of herders.
The school in the Kashia Reserve in central Nigeria is big but bare. The students have no desks, chairs or pens, and also have to share 4 teachers between them. Yusuf is 16 years old. He is ambitious despite the education being limited at this institution for the children of Fulani herders.
I will become a governor one day to help people and improve education. I also want to build hospitals with doctors to treat people in the villages and solve all the problems we have here.
As the children help their parents take care of the herds, the school has created a flexible curriculum to suit these children's needs.
Government say that all Nigerians, all citizens must be literate and numerate. And they consider that there are some children, because of this rearing, they are unable to, they don't have opportunity to attend the school. The reason that one, they established this nomadic school.
The government has been promising to build other schools adapted to the constraints of Fulani herders for decades. But these are rarely built, and when they are, they lack resources, making the work for teachers there a challenge.
Considering the number of the teachers being in the nomadic school is not quite enough compared to the other schools. Looking at the number of the population of the students in the school also is a big challengeable indeed.
There are around 10 to 15 million Fulani herders in Nigeria, and more than 3 million of their children do not attend school. But with many of them not wanting to take over the family's livestock business, access to education could open the door to new opportunities.
From education to climate change, but still in the Fulani world, as drought occur more frequently in Niger and access to water has become sparse, the centuries-old nomadic life of Fulani, Wadobe herders, is now threatened by climate change. Take a look at what they are doing.
After travelling hundreds of kilometres through the bush, this herd can finally take a sip of water. It has taken them weeks to get here. Having spent the dry season in Nigeria, Ibrahim and his family left in July to travel to the wet grasslands of Niger. Every year, they set off on the same expedition. Still, this period of hunger is a challenge for the animals. The journey has left them thin and at risk of dying of hunger or thirst.
During the dry season, we always have a water problem. It rained earlier this year, so the ponds and watering holes were full, but the drought came back. The watering holes dried up, and we had to fall back on this well to give water to the animals.
The Fulani travel across West Africa all year round in search of the greenest pastures to feed their livestock. Ibrahim and his clan are Fulani Wadabi. The Wadabi are famous for travelling extremely long distances with their herds. But their ancestral way of life is threatened by the successive droughts that have hit the Sahel. At the centre of the Fulani people's pastoral life are their animals.
Our life is linked to breeding. Everything we have is thanks to breeding, and we take everything from what we have bred, from the animals. Everything we do depends on them. They are essential to us.
Rawada is the leader of this clan. In just 10 years, he has lost half of his cows. He doubts his children will be able to live off the livestock for much longer.
I don't think we can carry on breeding anymore. With climate change, things are becoming more complicated for us, not to mention what will happen for the generations to come.
Every year in Niger, an equivalent of over 110,000 football fields of grassland disappear because of desertification and soil erosion. Thousands of herders like Barker have lost everything. Increasingly long droughts and expensive grains have killed his herd. He has moved to the city with his wife and 5 children to try his hand at another trade. He now looks after the house of a wealthy man in Maradi, Niger's second largest city, but he is barely earning €30 per month.
We have had a number of problems in the city. We sometimes struggle to eat, unlike when we lived in the bush with the animals. In the city, my salary is so low that it doesn't cover our needs.
Faced with an influx of thousands of Fulani towards the cities, Niger's main livestock union has launched various programs in response. In Burma, where droughts have been severe over the last few years, this dairy farm has enabled some 300 women to remain close to their families. Hargeisa makes cheese and yogurt, which is sold on the local market.
Before leaving, I sold my animals to pay for my children's schooling. But when I had no animals left, I left in order to help my family. After several tries, I realized it wasn't working and that I wasn't earning enough money. That is why I accepted this job.
Despite mounting difficulties, a number of Fulani herders refuse to abandon their livestock. Local radio station Marhaba is supporting those continuing with their annual migration. They broadcast daily bulletins with information about the safety of the various trails, weather forecasts, and the availability of pasture land. Broadcast in various languages, the radio station attracts some 200,000 listeners from Niger, where 85% of the population herd animals.
This information is extremely useful to us. It orients us during our journey towards free pasture land and where water is available. The radio helps us avoid certain obstacles.
At the end of the rainy season, once the animals have eaten their fill, the Wadabi Fulani celebrate Garowe, the salt cure. It is the most important moment of the year. Now that the animals are full, the herders can breathe a sigh of relief. From across the Sahel, families come together and reconnect. The men get ready and put makeup on. At nightfall, they dance to seduce their wives. A final celebration before they head back out to face new challenges. Soon, the grass will disappear and the ponds will dry up. This time, they will have to walk further in search of new pastures.
And with that story on the climate change and how it's affecting a centuries-old Hees tradition in Fulani, Niger, we wrap up our program. Thank you for being with us. My name is Yunis Dekow. On behalf of all those who made this broadcasting possible, thank you for being with us. You can get these stories and much more on our website and on our social media platforms. Bye-bye for now, till we meet again.